They didn't have enough to go to trial, Tony. This is a crap case.
Yeah,
it's a crap case.
Because
you don't go to trial on these cases.
Because she's really, really guilty.
Somebody should have got a white glove in that meeting and slapped Rebecca Grossman and her family and gave her a reality check and said, listen to me. You're going to lose. Listen to me. You're going to lose. Yeah. Yes, her name is Rebecca Grossman. She was found guilty of killing 2 boys in a hit and run. This happened in a place called Westlake Village in Los Angeles. For those who don't know, Westlake Village is a very affluent, upscale community.
It's beautiful. It's quiet.
Pleasantville. It's green trees, prune grass, prune trees.
Yeah.
Sidewalks are immaculate. You could drop your ham and egg sandwich on the floor and just pick it up and eat it. It'll still be clean. It's still good to go.
Mm-hmm. There's a lake there. There's restaurants around the lake, a beautiful sushi place, Italian place, seafood.
And I think the loudest thing in the neighborhood is birds chirping.
It's a quiet, affluent suburb of LA.
Yes.
So it's during the day. You've got a mother walking her 3 young boys down a crosswalk.
And basically Rebecca Grossman, her and her husband.
It's LA County.
Right.
You're right. Westlake Village is LA County.
Okay.
Confirmed.
And Rebecca Grossman's husband and her are these big wig donors who have donated a burn center. Her husband is a doctor, philanthropist.
I believe Dr. Peter Grossman, head surgeon at the Grossman Burn Center.
Now, it gets a little scandalous because...
He's not involved, we should say.
Well, he's involved in a scandal in the sense that his wife was cheating on him with the guy that she was with at the bar on the night of this incident.
I'm not... Okay, so we could get into that. It's a social thing, obviously not a criminal violation.
No.
You're allowed to cheat, but he wasn't. Yes. We're not sure she was cheating. It sounded in some things I read like maybe they had an open marriage and they cohabited, but they were separated.
Fine,
and so she was allowed to date people.
Fine, so be it. So
can she go out and date people? I mean, her husband's fine with it.
If he gives her a hall pass, then sure.
That's what happened. That's pretty much what happened here. Right. And guess who she wrangled? An ex-pitcher for the Dodgers.
I know.
It's not so bad.
Yeah, the ex-pitcher from the Dodgers. And
so she's having fun.
She's having fun. She's drinking at the bar, whatever she's doing at the bar.
Do we know that she was drinking?
Yeah, she had a 0.06 alcohol when she got pulled over.
Okay, so just under the 0.08, which would be criminal liability?
It could be criminal liability because there's something called a wet reckless under Vehicle Code Section 23103.5.
Everybody write that down.
No, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not because I do this all the time. And that basically...
Don't drink and drive.
If you had any measurable amount of alcohol in your system which causes impairment, you could still be charged even though it's under a 0.08. So she had a 0.06 and... she had a little bitty Valium in her system, a little bit of Valium in her system.
Valium. So they're on a date. They're drinking at like a place in Westlake, presumably, or nearby. And she has a little Valium and a little bit of a drink.
Yeah.
And then...
with Scott Erickson, who's a former...
pitcher for the Dodgers.
Yes.
So then fast forward a little bit. They're racing down Tunisia Canyon?
Yeah, so they're going pretty quick. They're racing each other down Triunfo Canyon, Trinfo Canyon, and
Canyon,
and Saddle Mountain Drive. Okay, and it's going about 7:00, 7:10, and then basically, unfortunately, this is the sad part, Tony. The mom is with all of her children. She's with her daughter. She's with with her 3 kids, 3 boys. And basically, her white Mercedes slams into one boy and then slams into another boy. Her younger brother, Jacob, was taken to the hospital, really messed up. The other boy, there was a daughter in a stroller. She was out of harm's way. But the older boys, she couldn't reach in time basically to grab them.
So tragically, that's the Iskander family.
Yes.
Our heart breaks for this family.
My deepest condolences. And as a criminal defense attorney, I just want you to know it's not easy. And I know the Iskander family was very aggressive. Well, not aggressive, but very dismayed at Tony Busby, who was the
defense attorney for...
But, we have to do our job. We have to throw theories out there. And I know the theory threw out there was really...
we're going to get to
really a Hail Mary pass.
There were a few. We're going to get to it. But back up for a sec because on this issue of the structure of the criminal justice system, like a lot of people don't understand the way it works is that it's set up to be adversarial.
Yes.
It really is set up for the prosecution to go as hard as they can. Yeah. And then for the defense to use every possible theory of the case, even conflicting theories of the case.
But they should be plausible.
Fine. you as a professional probably have that restraint where you think to yourself, they need to be plausible. But come on, we've heard implausible defenses as well.
But you know,
we're probably going to hear one now.
But that's the result you get. She was found guilty because it was implausible.
Fair, but the system is still working correctly, which is set up these diametrically opposed sides. Everybody fight it out, argue it as hard as you can. It's a street fight. Go at it from every which possible angle you can, and then let the jury decide. And if they convict, hell yeah, it should be correct. We don't always get it right, as people know from our other episode on the Innocence Project. But back to this, agreed, the defense attorney did what the only thing they could do, which is the most vigorous possible defense, right? So that's fine. So back to the facts, though, I think Mom, Mrs. Iskander, sadly, again, my heart breaks for her, is not yet at the crosswalk, but her two boys, who are Mark Iskander, 11 years old, and Jacob Iskander, 8 years old, rest in peace. They are on inline skates or rollerblades, just kind of crossing the crosswalk. Mom hears a engine barreling down the road. This is what I know. She's got her other younger child. She grabs the younger child and like dives out of the way, from what I read. And this black SUV, not Mrs. Grossman or Ms. Grossman, a black SUV barrels through the crosswalk, for all intents and purposes, from what we know, does not hit Mark and Jacob Iskander. And then seconds behind that is Miss Grossman. Is it Mrs. Grossman?
It's, Jessica.
She's still married. So
it's, I'm sorry, Rebecca Grossman.
Rebecca Grossman comes through the crosswalk with her white Mercedes SUV, following her boyfriend at the time, and kills these two young brothers.
Right. Yes. Now, can I tell you what I believe is in Miss Grossman's mind?
At the moment she makes impact?
Yeah.
Because we're not even at the point where, like, let's talk about that moment. You tell, because then there's a moment after impact. So tell me what you thought she was thinking. Well, the airbags go
off. She asks, I know there's children somewhere. She tries to start her car. She tries to start her car several times. There was an implication that she tried to leave. She also...
But I want to understand the facts, because from what I understood, she hit the two boys.
Yes. Well, one at a time, not simultaneously.
One at a time.
Yes.
And then she drove for a third of a mile.
Yes.
And then her car somehow shut off?
Well, it came to
there was a safety feature that shut it off?
The airbag shut up. So the airbags, I think, interfere with her driving ability.
But a third of a mile with the airbag deployed? Or was the airbag not deployed?
That I don't know. I'm not sure.
I read the Mercedes had some kind of an auto safety intelligence feature where it
shut it off.
Where it shut the car off. So are you telling me this is like Minority Report?
Well, Teslas do that.
So the car...
Teslas do that. I could shut my car off. You steal it, I could shut it off. I mean, I've got remote.
But she didn't shut it off. Who shut the car off?
So there's an auto safety system, OnStar or something, that could have shut off. But the bottom line is
she was trying to flee.
She was allegedly trying to flee, and then the theory was based on this, Tony. The theory was based on the fact that she was speeding. All right. So let me give you some background information on this. First of all, they hired a law firm that I know pretty well for the preliminary hearing. His name is Dimitri Gordon and Al Eisner. And both of these guys are former prosecutors. Let me tell you, Dimitri Gordon is a former prosecutor with a lot of experience and is a certified criminal specialist. Al and Eisner, excellent attorney, both excellent attorneys.
Who hired them?
Rebecca Grossman.
To be the defense.
That's right. After the preliminary, they get fired. You know what that means to me? Do you know what that means?
That she wasn't happy with their theory of the case in her defense?
Not only that, but she thinks that she's not guilty.
I got you.
She thinks she's not guilty, and she doesn't like the fact that her lawyers weren't able to show the judge at the preliminary hearing.
She really believes she's innocent.
And
how could she believe that?
I'll tell you right now, Alexa, who's the daughter of Rebecca Grossman, after the verdict was read, turned to the Iskander family and said, "Why are you doing this?" Right. What does that statement tell you when somebody says this? It means
why are you falsely accusing my mom of killing your kids?
No, it's actually diminishing. Like, okay, we killed the two kids, but what's the big deal? Why do you have to send my mom to jail?
Right. And it was so heartbreaking, and what a demonstration of strength and just like character for Mrs. Iskander to issue a statement after the conviction, which I read her statement was, it was something to the effect of, I really have no hatred for her, for Grossman. I have no hatred for her, and I really feel bad for her kids. Kind of a strong statement for the mother to make, terrible, who just lost her 2 boys 4 years ago.
So here's what Rebecca, continuing what I was saying, here's what I think happened with Dimitri Gorin and Alan Eisner. So as a criminal defense attorney, you have to look at a case and you have to come to the truth. There's always a truth to every case. And the truth is whether or not the person could be convicted or not. And if this lady came to me and said, for example, these are the facts, I had a .06, I went a third of a mile down the road, my airbags came out, I'd say that sounds pretty bad so far. Oh, and by the way, I had Valium. Oh, that sounds even worse. Oh, and by the way,
this is them being honest with their defense.
Oh, and by the way, I was going 70 miles an hour. That's terrible. Can I be found guilty? Yes. Why? Why would you say that? And I would say because there's something called reckless driving. When you're driving recklessly, you could actually be charged with a separate crime under California where they call it a Watson murder. It's a second-degree murder Watson is basically a case in California, and I want people to understand this, that if you drive under, you could be charged with an implied malice theory. Implied malice means it's assumed that whatever you did was pretty bad.
So we're saying that, look, we don't see into your brain. We don't know that you were thinking maliciously and doing what you did, killing these 2 people, but we're going to imply malice.
That's right.
Because what you did was so stupid, so disregardful for human life. So I don't even know if grossly negligent is even the right standard.
So you brought a good point. So the Watson, and for those geeks that want to look up People versus Watson, it's a 30 cal, 30 3D, 290, 1981. They created this crime based on the implied theory because if somebody dies as a result of a person driving under the influence of alcohol,
you can say, I have no mental state.
So what they do is if you're convicted, Tony, they tell you before you leave, by the way, Tony, this is a first-time DUI. You're not going to go to jail, but we're going to give you a warning next time if you drink and drive, it's murder because it's foreseeable. Do you understand? Now
you're on notice.
You're on notice.
We're going to imply malice the very next time.
Right.
Or even some kind of mens rea, like the legal term for your mental state.
Right.
How much knowledge you have of what you're doing.
Right. So now to imply malice to Rebecca Grossman, they have to show that she intentionally committed an act, and that could be just speeding. Did she speed 70, 80 miles an hour? The answer is yes. They said the minimum speed she was going was 71 miles an hour.
So her car actually onboard system electronically registered, I believe, 81 miles an hour. And then she slowed down to 70 when she actually made impact.
Okay, 71 now. So these are the 4 elements. Answer the question. If she meets it, it's second-degree murder. Number 1, answer the question. Did she intentionally commit an act? Yes or no?
100%. She intentionally drove her car at a fast speed down the road.
Okay, number 2, as a question for you, Mr. Juror, were her actions, the natural consequences of her act, were they dangerous to human life?
Yes.
The third question I asked for you, at the time Rebecca Grossman acted, did she know or have reason to know that what she was doing was dangerous to human life?
Yes.
Okay, last question is, did she act with conscious disregard for human life by doing that?
Yes.
So therefore, you just said that was a Watson second-degree murder.
Yeah.
Does that make sense now?
It does make sense.
Okay, so watch. If you're Rebecca Grossman and you're the husband, and I would sit down with you, so you just basically said your wife's going to be found guilty.
Yeah.
So now I would tell you, you know what I would do? Don't pay me a ton of money to go to trial. Let's strike a deal.
That would be your advice.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Because why are you going to burn your money?
Why are we going to go to trial and burn money? But guess what?
It might be worse if you go to trial.
What? Rebecca Grossman's not going to like to hear that.
Too much ego?
Yes.
Pride?
She's a socialite. She's a socialite with a lot of money. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear you saying, well, I don't want to hear that. I'm going to go to Tony Busby, who's a former mayor candidate.
But could you take a deal and save face? No. You can't do no.
Face.
Yeah, well, you're not going to go no contest.
The other reason you don't want to take a deal is because she's going to get sued.
Yeah, civilly.
For
tons of money.
But you know what? You're going to get sued anyway, and you're going to go to jail anyway. Why don't you want to minimize your risk? I could have probably got her less time. She's looking at 30 plus years now.
Yeah.
15 and 15 for each child. I may have been able to work out a deal, or any attorney would have said, look, I got some bad news for you. You don't have a lot of defenses, and blaming your former Scott Erickson, on hitting the kids, that ain't going to fly. And if she says, why, Mr. Manuel, why wouldn't it fly? I'd say, Rebecca, there's no black SUV parts anywhere. There's no damage. Rebecca, look at your car.
There's no damage to the black SUV.
Yeah. No SUV.
I want people to know what you're talking about.
Hold on. This is important. The Mercedes-Benz had an indent of a child in front of it.
Yeah.
You don't need an expert to tell you that you hit the kids first. And it's ridiculous to say that Scott Erickson, after he hit him, went around and hid behind the bushes and watched the whole thing, which is what Tony Busby said.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off, but
that's exactly what I wanted to bring up, which is like what you're stating now is the defense's key theory of the case.
Yeah, basically, Scott Erickson was the one that hit him. It's not.
So let's look at what does that mean? It means, hey, my client, this
wasn't
woman,
the natural cause, wasn't the natural and the proximate cause. They're making an argument that
she was following this black SUV down the street, down this canyon.
So they're basically saying what number 2 is not met. Element number 2, the natural consequences of the act. There was an intervening, superseding cause, which was basically Scott Erickson's car hitting and taking off. It wasn't that Rebecca Grossman caused the death. It was Scott that caused the death.
Yeah, in English, she's like, I didn't hit him. He did.
I may have hit him, but his hit caused the death.
He hit him first.
And maybe I hit him, but that wasn't causing the death. And you can't prove that.
It's utter nonsense.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
They paid this guy, Tony Busby, a ton of money.
And that's what he came up with?
And Tony Busby's not even a criminal defense attorney. I literally called his law firm before I went on the air with you. Hello, do you guys do criminal defense? Who's calling? I want to know if you do criminal defense. What is this about? Can I find out whether you guys know criminal defense? I could transfer you to Mr. Busby. He could assess your record. Ma'am, I only want to know if you do criminal defense. What is your primary area? She said he does everything. He just did a murder case, she said. I was going to ask him, by the way, how'd that go? That was this case she's talking about.
Oh, no.
So I said to her, what is the primary area of practice? Tony, it's all injury. The guy's an injury attorney. Why do other people think that just because you're good at one thing means that you're going to be good at all? Just because you're good at a personal injury attorney doesn't mean you're good at criminal procedure and criminal evidence and knowing the prosecutors. Had Rebecca stuck with Dimitri and Alan, they would have been better off.
Those were the former prosecutors.
Yes,
her strategy there was, hey, who better to defend me than people who actually prosecute? They're going to know what the prosecutor's going to do. Let me bring them on my team to be my shield.
100%.
And then she met with them, went through a preliminary hearing. It went bad.
Well, it went bad because they were, at the time, the prosecution was arguing, I think, focusing on the .06 volume. So they were making an argument that didn't have anything to do with the deaths. But it wasn't just that. It was the totality of that combined with the speed. So the jury could have found either or, Tony. They could have found either the speed was bad enough or the alcohol was bad enough or both. And then if you add that the fact that her car didn't stop for a third of a mile down and that she's discounting her actions.
Her facts look bad.
And then on top of it, the defense attorney is telling the jury she didn't do it.
Right.
Come on.
So she fires those two, the former prosecutors.
Yeah, she fires a real attorney that gave her real advice.
Fair point. You know this. So you're saying they gave her the truth. She didn't want to hear the truth.
That's right.
She fired him.
That's right.
She brought on this jack of all trades lawyer.
She brought a jack of all trades, successful Texas non-criminal defense attorney.
He tried to defend her. Let's talk about what he did to defend her. One thing he did is he said it wasn't her.
That's it.
It was him. It was the car in front.
That was the theory.
It seems like that's nonsense based on the fact of, you pointed out, the impact of, sadly, the children on the hood of the car wasn't to the black car in the front. It was to the white car in the back.
And there was no, look, the thing is.
He even tried to say, well, the kid was thrown by the first car and landed on the second car, my client's car.
But there was
nonsense.
There was no photos, no black SUV parts. There was nothing showing that the SUV was involved. The black SUV. So you have a white car and you have a black car. So I have a question for the audience. If somebody gets hit, wouldn't you expect to see damage on one of the cars? Wouldn't you expect to see the criminal defense attorney say, look at my client's car, look at the damage? There was nothing consistent like that was shown that showed that basically Scott Erickson's car hit.
You're saying, had there been a dent in Scott Erickson's car, the lead car, the black car, of course the defense attorney for...
not just a dent, definitive proof.
The defense attorney for Grossman would have brought that in and said, look...
100%.
But that didn't happen.
Look at Grossman's car.
Right.
Look at Erickson's car, or if there is a car. Okay, there's no damage on Erickson's car that would show that a kid was hit. Zero.
Agreed.
And by the way, the defense attorney has a right to subpoena Scott Erickson, put him on the stand. Sir, you hit him, didn't you?
Right.
You took off, didn't you? You were hiding behind the bushes. They never did that. The prosecution pounced on that.
Right.
Pounced.
We know the hiding behind the bushes came from Rebecca Grossman's daughter, a young lady who obviously is hugely emotionally impacted by this and wants nothing more than, I would imagine, to help her mom out, or to either maybe even is convinced herself that her mom is innocent. I don't know. But she said something to the effect of, Scott Erickson was there after the crime and he was hiding behind a tree and he looked, and then she even said something like Scott Erickson came into their home.
Who's this?
The daughter of Rebecca Grossman.
Alexa, the same one that said, why are you doing this?
That's where the statement originated, that he was behind the trees.
Complete nonsense.
And another statement that originated from her was that he came to the house and attacked and threatened them, saying, why are you talking about me? Whatever.
She is in denial. She doesn't want her mom to go to jail. I get that.
Fair.
And by the way,
she has incentive to lie.
Of course she does. She doesn't want her mom to go to jail. And look, that's the
fair point.
That's a very difficult conversation. The hardest thing that I do.
I feel for her.
The hardest conversation that any criminal defense attorney does is talk to her client and say, look, you're guilty. All I could do is save you, shave some years. Instead of 30 years, I could get you 15 years.
That's a big deal.
But people don't like that. They don't want to hear that. They're like, you know what? I'll go to Tony Busby, who will sell me a song and a dance.
Shit.
That's how it is in every case, Tony. And you know what? Psychologically, what happens is they go to a lawyer like that, and a lawyer throws, I guarantee you, they charge him $1 million. Tony Busby charged $1 million, okay? Because this guy gets like $13-14 million.
Do you know that for sure?
I'm guessing.
Well, we're guessing. We could be wrong.
Okay, I'm going to throw it out there.
We could be wrong.
I'm going to say it's a very.
We don't know for sure. I want you to be protected.
Well, how about that? How about this?
Yeah.
Robert Shapiro charged Phil Spector $1 million for a high-profile case.
Yeah, it's a good example.
Most high-profile cases are about $1 million. Conrad Murray, I heard, was over $1 million. So let's judge it by a high-profile case.
Yeah,
these guys Grossmans are super rich. You think $1 million is a lot of money?
No, not in this scenario.
Lyle and Eric Menendez, the Menendez brothers, that they were the ones that got charged with killing that was at least $1 million retainer that Leslie, whatever her name was, the public defender took on. Okay. Leslie Abramson took it on. Okay. So yeah, I'm pretty positive. You want to make a bet? I'm pretty positive he took $1 million on this.
Okay.
And hold on. So here's the thing. When you pay psychologically somebody $1 million, you think you're going to get something for $1 million. Mm-hmm. So when a guy's selling you song and a dance, we'll do this and we'll blame it on Scott. It's not your fault.
They got to get you the $1 million.
It's not your fault. And by the way, give me $1 million, I'll make this happen. You're thinking psychologically, well, if this guy's so successful, is winning cases and is talking like this, we'll roll the dice with $1 million.
Maybe I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
You almost start to convince yourself.
That's right.
You spend enough money, you literally convince yourself of another fiction. There's some eyewitness testimony that goes against her claim here as well, or Busby's claim, which is we have Susan Manners, a witness at the scene, testifying that she saw Grossman's vehicle hit Mark. So at least one of the two brothers.
Right.
By the way, a gruesome fact is that
they got tossed 250 feet, right?
Yeah, one of the brothers was thrown 250 feet. Wow. One of them 50 feet.
Yeah. But by the way, that's important. That's important because it shows the impact, the reconstruction, the velocity, high impact.
Or speed, I should say.
Yes. And I don't think there were skid marks, right? I don't think there were, which would signify there was no braking ability. That's
I don't know, but her onboard car computer seems to indicate that she was really only able to tap her brakes, bringing her down from about 81 miles an hour to 71. I could be a little bit wrong on those numbers. And then impacting the boys right at that 70. Another eyewitness, Yasmin Eftekhari and Jake Sands, both who were driving in a car behind Grossman's Mercedes, testified that they saw the white car, that's Grossman's car, hit Jacob. So now we have eyewitnesses talking about seeing her car hit both brothers.
Yeah.
Eftekhari, Castro noted, testified the black car never hit the boys. So there's eyewitnesses. So this first defense that he brought up, which is it wasn't her, it was him, fails. Another defense I saw him brought up, and I don't know that this is a defense against hitting them, but he did bring up a defense that she wasn't driving 71 or 81. The car onboard system is wrong.
Right.
The electronic system is wrong.
Right.
Then he hired an expert, or maybe he did himself, to assess video from a house nearby or a boathouse nearby, and then to kind of measure via visual footage, measure the trees going by in the video, or the car going by the trees, I should say.
Yes.
So at this point, you're making some kind of a distance equals rate times time. The math equation we all learned in 5th grade. You're making that argument as a defense attorney. You're going, look, I'm looking at this video. It may be from across the street. It may be from here. It's some boathouse. Yeah. I see the white SUV. It's going by these trees. I'm measuring these trees. It can't be 70 or 80 miles an hour. She's like 51 miles an hour. And then after she hits him, she's like at 52. This is what he did.
But even at 51 miles an hour, this wasn't the posted speed limit 35 in that area. It was still fast.
It's kind of a moot argument then.
He's just, no matter how much and she didn't stop after. She's trying to take off.
Yeah, so that
she's
argument
got alcohol in her system. And then what I think really turned the jurors off, the number one turn off, was blaming it on Scott when there's no... I think it would have been better if they just hinged on the speed, perhaps. But they didn't have enough to go to trial, Tony. This is a crap case.
Yeah,
it's a crap case.
Because
you don't go to trial on these cases.
Because she's really, really guilty.
Somebody should have got a white glove in that meeting and slapped Rebecca Grossman and her family and gave her a reality check and said, listen to me. You're going to lose. Listen to me. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
All I could do for you is save you. I have these conversations with my clients, by the way, all the time.
I can imagine.
And you know what they do with some of these clients? They walk out of my office. I go ahead. Go find somebody that's going to, sell you sunshine. I sell you the truth. And, Tony, I get a lot of calls sometimes from clients that want to hire me on appeal that say, I came to your office a long time ago. You told me the truth. I went to somebody else that lied to me, took me money, and I was convicted. Now I'm looking at 20 years. Can you do my appeal? And I said, well, why did you go to that guy? Well, I was desperate. He told me what I wanted to hear. And I always ask, how much did he charge? And it was double, triple what they couldn't afford to pay me. So I say, if you couldn't afford to pay me, why'd you go to this guy? He gave me hope.
Right. You could charge a lot of money if you're going to tell someone,
so
I'll get you off. But do these criminal defense attorneys ever actually say, I'll get you off? No.
Some of them do.
Do they really?
Yep. Some of them do. Some of them are unethical and say, yeah, you give me $100,000, I'll get you a not guilty.
So they promise the sky.
Promise the sky, yeah.
And they cannot deliver.
And you know what they do? They weasel their way out of it at the end. Well, it wasn't my fault. We had a juror that committed misconduct. I didn't know the prosecution was going to say that. I didn't know the judge was going to rule against me on that. That was messed up. We're going to take it up on appeal.
Right.
He'll weasel his way out of it every time.
So let's talk about the 5 charges that were brought up against her. So I guess from least to worst. First was...
3. It was 2.
I heard 5, which was hit and run.
That's 1.
And then 2 charges of...
Involuntary manslaughter, second-degree murder, excuse me.
Well, those are the big ones.
Yeah.
The Watson murder. That's the second-degree murder, right?
Yep.
2 of those.
Yep.
1 for each child, presumably. And then 2 grossly negligent manslaughter or something like that?
That may be... She was found 2 felony counts each of second-degree murder, gross vehicular manslaughter, 1 felony count of hit and run.
Yeah, so that's 5 total, right?
So she's facing 35 to life, basically.
So she was...
immediately, she's looking at... wait, hold on.
We got a verdict.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the verdict on all 5 of these?
2 felony counts. She was found guilty. Gross vehicular manslaughter.
Guilty again.
1 felony count of hit and run.
So you're only seeing 3. Why am I seeing 5? Maybe I have it wrong. I thought the second-degree murder was different than vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence, but you're probably right.
She's looking at
you're right about
34 years. But here's the thing. So the judge has discretion to sentence her to concurrent time instead of consecutive time. Let me explain.
So let's talk about how many years are associated with each of these convictions.
15 to life.
With each of them?
Yes.
So 2 or 3, we think 3. So it's potential 45 years, or it's 15, and then probably less for the hit and run.
So second degree murder in California, it's going to be a total of, I think it's 15 to life.
This is live legal research on air. I love it.
I'm 90% positive.
Well, it's good.
15 to life. Yeah. There I go. All right. I was going to turn in my lawyer badge.
No.
How do you not know this?
No.
I just want to confirm because
we're being accurate. I like that.
And sometimes I'm wrong. I apologize.
This is on the vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence.
Second-degree murder.
Is that different than the vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence? I'm trying to figure out if that gets...
That's only up to a year in county jail. If it's a felony, it's 2, 4, and 6.
Okay, so second-degree murder is the 2 big ones she's getting hit on.
Yes.
I'm assuming they swallow up the lesser charge.
Yeah, that's called concurrent sentencing.
Got it.
It could be swallowed. In fact, the concurrent, what else could be swallowed of the concurrent are the 2 children.
The hit and run as well?
Yeah, the judge could say... I'm going to give you 15 years, but he probably is not going to say that.
He's not,
that's sort of like a 2-for-1 special.
That's 2 different.
They're not going to. Yeah, he's not going to discount one child over the other.
So for people listening,
unless there's an unless, there is a hope. You know what the unless is? There's something called Marcy's law. Marcy's law says the victim has a say. the Iskanders could come and say, we're happy with the result, but we don't want her to go to jail that long.
Wow.
We would not be objectionable for you to give concurrent sentence.
Whoa.
They could do that.
So the mom and the dad,
100%.
the mom has been more vocal from what I've heard.
They have a right under Marcy's law to give that input, and then the DA will listen to that input and take that input into consideration along with the judge.
I want to reread the mom's. That's Mrs. Iskander, God bless her soul, the one who lost 2 of her children, her and her husband. Her statement after the conviction was, I promise I do not have any hate for her. My heart broke for her children. So maybe what you just said is actually...
Maybe she'll go in and she'll say, look, I got what I wanted. I think 15 years is a long time. I'll never get my kids back. And in reality, they're going to make a lot of money. I know it's terrible to say, but the Grossmans are going to pay probably easy 10 million, 20 million, maybe even more settlement, easy to the Iskanders. And I know you can never replace, but listen, she's got a daughter.
Nobody wants that money.
But she still has a daughter and she has a son. So at least for them, they could get therapy. They could move to a better neighborhood.
No doubt.
They could maybe a little better their lives in the long run.
Oh, they can better their lives.
A little bit.
They're just not getting their son.
No. And they would give the $20 million
it's an
back.
Unimaginable
Of course.
loss. Difficult to even empathize with because I can't even get there. God forbid. But you're right. Maybe the Iskanders will be sort of nice enough to say run her sentences concurrently, and
then she.
Concurrent.
If she runs a concurrent, she's looking at possibly 15. If they could run, could they run the?
So she'd be almost.
What's the other charge? Is it a hit and run? I think the
hit and run resulting in death.
That could be consecutive. I have to check the statute.
Maybe that has to be.
Maybe that has to be on top. I have to take a look at it. But if it's concurrent, then it's 15. If it's not concurrent, then it's 19.
So
she's looking at 19. But in reality, on 19, she would do realistically possibly 66% or less.
Okay.
So we're talking about, if my math is right, if I divide it by 2, we get to 9, probably 10 years.
Or let's say 12 years.
Say 12 years or less.
But then that she would be somewhere around 72 years old when she got out of prison.
Which, if she could live another 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
She could.
People living to 90 easy now.
By then, the technology will be even further advanced, so people will be living even longer.
Yeah. It's not the worst sentence considering 2 people died. I don't want to go to jail for be sentenced to 30 years or 15 years, but considering if it's 15 and I could get out in 12, that's not so bad. So let's hope.
And comparing 12 to 30.
Well, 30 she'll do again 66, so that's what 20 22 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you're looking at 20 and you're 80 years old. You get out of prison.
Right.
She's roughly 60, I think.
Right. Well, you know what? Here's the thing.
But you did kill 2 young souls. I mean, they were 6 and 10. How old were they?
And not only
they were 11 and 8.
Not only that, but I think she did herself harm by going and getting this highfalutin attorney from Texas and disputing everything.
Right.
That it rubbed the Iskanders the wrong way because they're outside listening to this. They're like, "What are you talking about? You have no feelings for us. You didn't hit him. We saw you hit our kid.
You're taking no accountability.
No accountability.
How much do you think that has she hasn't been sentenced yet?
No, but the judge is going to take that into. Okay, so now we're
getting into sentencing.
So you don't get bonus points for going to trial, but you do get bonus points for an early disposition, which means if you raise the white flag and say, I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry, she would have totally got a much, much better deal. Much better. Maybe even,
When you say better, you mean less time in prison?
Yeah, maybe a lot less time. Because
like 10 years or something?
Maybe. She could have got maybe 15, and then we could have...
brought it down over time, good behavior and stuff
possibly.
Like that?
I mean, it would have been capped at 15, I think.
It's a state
But
thing.
Who wants to hear? You're going to hear if I told you, Tony, your wife's going to go away, Savon's going to go away for 15 years. Are you going to hire me? Or are you going to go hire Tony, the Flash Busby, who's going to tell you, hey, partner, just give me $1 million and I'll get you the not guilty verdict?
Oh, that's so tempting if I could keep my wife out of jail.
Right. Well, you're going to go to Tony Busby because Tony Busby, he's won hundreds of $1 millions in verdicts, on soft tissue or car accident, whatever he's won in Texas.
Unless I truly believe she's guilty and has no case. I mean, I wasn't there if I were her husband. The husband wasn't at the scene.
I'm not faulting him. He's doing his job and God bless him for making money. But your job, here's the thing, all right, is to be ethical.
Yeah.
If Tony Busby was ethical, I hope he is, he would have sat down with him and said, Rebecca, you're effed. You're going to lose. But if you want to hire me, that's fine. We'll put up a defense. But just so you know, you ain't got a good chance.
Right.
And if he said that, then all respect to him.
He may have, right?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Then
if he may have.
Then if he did, she's a moron.
Right. She may, because it very well could be, you acknowledge that defense attorney may have laid it out correctly and Rebecca Grossman may have just had blinders.
Then fine. Then you know what?
She might have convinced herself psychosomatically she didn't do it.
Fine. Then you know what?
Some people do that.
She'll have years to think about why she's wrong.
A lot of years.
So what I would have done if I were her, though, and I do this with all my clients, I sit down with them. Remember how I just went over the jury instructions right now?
Yeah.
I would have went over with Rebecca. I would have went number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Rebecca, what does that mean? And I want to hear from her mouth. It means that I'm guilty. That's how I prepare my clients. And I say, so now that you admitted that you're guilty, you could be found guilty. Why do you want me to go to trial? If she says, RJ, I get it. I'm probably going to be found guilty. But you know what? I'm really willing to roll the dice because I think after 7 years old, I have no life anyway.
Or maybe
you do your best.
Maybe one juror may see otherwise.
Or one juror. You do your best. I know I'm going to go down, but I'm not taking 15 years. Okay. Then I don't fault Tony Busby. But I ask you this, why would she leave 2 skilled criminal defense attorneys in California, 2 former prosecutors, to go all the way to Texas to get some guy who doesn't regularly practice here? To me, the writing is on the wall. It means that somebody sold her a song and dance, and the guy's a high, powerful guy. He's got an office on the 73rd floor, apparently in some skyscraper, and he seemed impressive. I'm sure he gave them hope.
Right. And now here she sits awaiting her sentence. When is the sentencing?
Sometime coming up April 10, I believe.
So it's coming up real soon.
Yeah.
Real soon. And
I wouldn't even be surprised if she gets another attorney on this one and just fires him and gets another attorney. Hey, listen, he lost.
Just a new attorney to show up to the sentencing hearing?
Yeah, of course.
That's going to look even worse to the judge.
Not really. No, because the part of the sentencing is when you hire a lawyer, you're saying your past lawyer effed up. So who better than the new lawyer to say that?
Yeah, but once you do that twice in a row, it's kind of like, lady, it might be you.
No. You could do it. You're allowed to switch your attorneys many times. Let me tell you something, okay? Yeah, that does seem like that.
I feel like it's like the Lakers lose the final game and then they fire their.
Okay, hold on a second. I get it, but watch this. I've been hired on shitty cases where they had crappy lawyers, and I come on and I got a not guilty verdict after several lawyers bungle the case.
Sure.
That happens all the time.
But it's too late when you're going into sentencing.
No, it's not.
Okay, tell me why.
Because during
still affect the numbers.
During sentencing, you could post a bond to be released on appeal, so she could be out in custody. And during the sentencing, you could actually post an appeal, and you could put your ground with the probable cause declaration saying all the reasons why the trial went wrong.
Got it.
And there's.
Oh, so that's going to the appellate court to oversee while you're being waiting.
Yeah, you're saying basically, you're saying time out.
I need a higher court to review.
Let's review this. Let's keep her out on bail. And the judge is going to say, well, what went wrong? Well, I'll tell you what went wrong. Jury misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, judicial misconduct.
Yeah, just not facts,
and
but more
the best thing is
procedural.
if you get a new lawyer, your lawyer's going to say ineffective assistance of counsel, which is what is known as Strickland error, which basically means you committed malpractice. That's why I would get a new lawyer and say Busby messed up, so she could throw that in the mix.
I got you.
You think Busby's going to say I messed up?
No. She would have to fire him, like you're saying she might do, and it kind of makes sense the way you put it.
Yep.
As a strategy almost that feeds into the truth of like, no, he really did mess up and he committed malpractice, and here I am with a new team, and here's all the things that went wrong in the prior case. Hey, appellate court, can you take a look at all that? And meanwhile, I'm out on bail.
And again, I'm not saying that Tony Busby committed malpractice. Not at all.
No,
I'm not making that contention. We don't know that. But,
we don't know.
But I'm only letting you know that there are options for her to appeal. That's happened to me, by the way, when I haven't committed malpractice. It's very common, just so you know. You could do an amazing job. I've had many murder cases where I've lost because, the facts were overwhelming and my client didn't want to take a deal. And most of my murder cases are gang cases. They're hard to win. And of course, they feel sour about it, no matter what I do.
Because your job is not necessarily to win, it's to try to win. But if you can't win, get them the best possible outcome you can.
And when you can't get that and you go to trial, you're a hero up until the verdict. You're a Superman. RJ, you did the best. And as soon as it comes down, now they're going back and they're getting information from their family. Did RJ do this? Did RJ
didn't
do
like that guy from
the get-go. Why didn't he argue this? And I didn't like the way he did this and all this stuff.
I told you about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't get that. Thank God.
No, but that nonsense.
It's happened where another attorney will come in and they'll say, basically, RJ messed up. But thank God nobody's ever won on that ground. I've read my appeals. I've never messed up. Thank God. But it's a natural progression of a criminal case where a defendant says, RJ, I want to audit you and make sure you did a good job. So I'm going to hire Tony Petrosian to handle my appeal.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because I get that one added bonus of seeing whether you messed up, because RJ's not going to admit he messed up.
Yeah.
Am I going to file a document that's going to say RJ Menuhin didn't do this? No, you are though.
Right. And
so that's why it's better to get a fresh pair of eyes.
And it fortifies the claim that my counsel was ineffective.
That's right.
I fired him.
That's why I think he's going to be fired. I'd be shocked if it's very rare where the attorney stays on board and files. It does happen, but usually they go to another attorney, either an appellate specialist or somebody that focuses on appeals, somebody that's going to look at the four corners with a fresh pair of eyes. That's the language. Everybody likes that word, fresh pair of eyes. So because when you're looking at it, it's like writing a novel. You always want somebody to read it after because you always miss something, a comma or something.
Right.
So that's why it's always best to get somebody else involved. But the risk is that guy's going to critique you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That new person's going to point.
And you know what? Maybe Tony, I'm not saying he's an unethical person, but maybe he mentioned, sold a song and dance and said, oh, you know what? We're going to win the appeal. Don't worry about it. Just give me some money. Give me some more money. We're going to file the appeal. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do that. He might be still singing that song and dance.
Right. So she's facing somewhere between 30 and 40, but you're saying it could come as low as 15, potentially. If she plays these hands perfectly with the right team and the jury, well, not the jury, but the judge buys into it.
And I'm going to put a little caveat here.
By the way, can I just clarify? The jury has no say in sentencing.
None.
It's just the judge.
The jury is the king of the facts. The judge is the king of the sentencing. So I'm going to put a little caveat because I haven't done research on this. I don't believe that it's mandatory to do consecutive. I don't believe that is the case. If that is the case, then the judge has no power. But if it is not mandatory, then under Marcy's law, as a parent, you could go and say, look, I lost my child, but I don't want these kids, the Grossman kids, to lose their mother any more than they need to. I think 15 years is fine. God. I don't mind running it.
That would be such a larger than life result.
That would be nice.
It would be nice.
We'll see what happens. I've seen Iskanders, and they seem like really nice people.
Amazing.
They're taking it amazingly. I would not be that well composed.
No.
Maybe they might do that because 15 years is a long time, but we have to see. I don't know.
It's real time, and man, it's hard to celebrate someone minimizing their sentence when two young boys, innocent boys, were killed. But of course, 15 years is a long time, and that is a mother to somebody.
You know what I'd like to see? It'd be a perfect movie. I'm sorry to mention this. I would like to see her tell the judge 15 years is enough, and then go outside the Iskander family and the Grossman family, and they just give a big hug, and they just all accept the 15 years and accept that she killed him. And that would be a good thank you, by the way. That would be a gift of 15 years. I would hug the family and say sorry and thank you for giving a gift of 15 years back to my mom. That would be a nice ending to all this.
No, it is. I'm envisioning it now. It's beautiful. We're not going to see that.
You don't think so?
No, there's not going to be a big hug. I think it's just too much on.
How about if she bends though? How about if she gives her 15 years? You wouldn't hug the family after?
I'm not sure about the hug, but
I think that would be ungrateful. If they gave my mom 15 years back, I would go and give him a hug.
Oh, you mean the daughter hugging them?
Yes,
yeah, I could see that.
I'm saying if Iskander's mom says I don't want her to do more than 15, and in effect Rebecca Grossman gets 15. You're not going to want the family to hug the Iskander family saying thank you. You saved us 15 years. That's a big gift.
I would hope they would view it that way.
Even though I lose my mom, I'd say, you know what? I'm sorry, but my mom's going away, but at least thank you for that.
Can I say that it would feel warm and fuzzy if they did that, if they reacted in that way. I hope they don't react. I hope they don't say, but wait, Scott was in the trees. I hope they don't do that. That's where
that wouldn't be good.
No, that's where
then don't hug.
Yeah,
don't hug it out. Yeah. If you still feel that Scott Erickson was hiding behind the trees,
yeah,
and the leprechaun in the trees did it, it's just then don't do it.
The no accountability.
Forget
kind
it.
Of thing. Yeah,
forget it. But if it's going to be a sincere hug, just a quick hug, and they don't have to talk about it. Just look, I'm sorry what happened to your son. Thank you for my mom. Walk away and just walk away. That'd be nice because the Iskanders are going to get compensated. I know it's not the same, but I'm saying there is going to be restitution in this matter.
Yeah.
And the mom, Rebecca Grossman, is going to be released by the time she's 72 instead of 82.
Right.
That's something.
That's a big difference.
So hopefully that happens. That'd be a nice ending. You asked before, some kindness coming out of here. they could build a new act, in the Iskander Act. They should do something like that.
Okay, what would that be?
That would be, I don't know if you're familiar, the Tesla cars have sensitivity to human beings, and they actually slam the brakes sometimes when they think it's a human being in front of the sensors.
Okay.
I think that there should be a federal law to have cars with sensors, the ability to have sensors, the ability to override and slam brakes.
I feel like, Tesla would have done that in that moment if you had that toggled.
Tesla would have done it.
I think only if you have it toggled. You could have it alert you or actually slam the brakes.
Fair enough. Yeah. So the technology is there.
Yeah.
So now under the Iskander Act, every car in the future will have a motion-seeking, child-seeking thing where if it senses in 1,000 feet away,
not just children,
animals, cats,
adults,
moving objects, even like a cart that flies by in front of a car could cause how about a deer?
Right.
How about they have the technology. Now, why aren't they doing this? Let's talk about it. Money. It costs extra money. The car value is going to be more expensive. Your Ford is going to be an extra $2,000. So what? We'll pay it. They should make it mandatory, pass the buck on to us as citizens. Ford, Tesla, GM, if you're listening, we're okay with that because kids are not going to get killed like this. So if
that would be incredible.
Some good has to, every crisis breeds opportunity. There's a Chinese symbol, and that Chinese symbol is opportunity is the same as crisis.
Okay.
So there's a crisis right now going on. How do we make it an opportunity? We make it so that it never happens again.
I love that.
So it'll never happen again if Congress takes this right now, at least in California, Gavin Newsom could pass the Iskander Act, where every car driven from now on has to have that
safety
technology
feature.
And you know what we could do? We could even maybe find the Grossmans for that. Maybe we should tell,
you
know what? If I was the Grossmans, I would tell them, why don't you earmark 10, 20, 30, $100 million for the Iskander Act? That would be really good for the judge to hear that during sentencing, you're going to make it your mission when you get out to make sure no other trial, that never happens.
That's freaking genius.
And you take the responsibility. You tell the judge, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Cry like a baby. Say, I can never bring their lives back. And if anything good happens, Your Honor, I'm donating $30 million to the Iskander Brothers Act, in which we're going to try to pass legislation to make sure that every single car has the ability to halt, to stop. And the technology is there now if there's any moving objects in the street.
Wow. Not only is that a brilliant move by them strategically, it actually does great good for the world.
Absolutely.
It takes this awful darkness and brings a little bit of positive light out of it. And man, if you could stop any kid from getting hit by one of these smart cars in the future, I mean, making the cars smart, why wouldn't you? That sounds amazing.
Money. It costs extra money.
Safety is somewhere we should just not be skimping on.
But we do. The same thing with the John Holmes, the Joker that shot up the movie theater in Arizona. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That could have been avoided by smart guns. We have smart guns now. Do you know that?
No.
Do you know what a smart gun is?
No.
It's thumbprint identification. We
So
have the ability to actually see our prints on our hands, to identify, and it will lock if it's not your fingerprints. Every gun in the world can have that now.
So he was using an uncertified gun?
Yeah, well, he was using a gun that was not his.
Unregistered?
No, it was registered. I think it was his parents or somebody's. He got access to it.
It's just I would not be able to shoot with your gun.
No, you would not.
Got it.
And if every gun had
I could still shoot with my gun.
Yeah.
So it's not going to stop
if
gun
every
crime.
gun had that, in theory, there'd be no more the gun violence would go down 90%. Because people, most of the crimes happen with people with unauthorized use of guns.
So it's anonymous.
Aside from the black market, forget the black market shootouts with the gangs. I'm putting that aside. I'm talking about your big serial murders, the movie theaters, the clubs, the street side parades that everybody sprays. Those things would be gone because typically those crimes are committed by mental health people that get access to guns. That wouldn't go off if the smart gun had the proper identification and the proper mechanisms to stop the features from working.
Right. In a lot of those cases, we should have stopped that person from having a gun.
100%.
Whether there was prior foresight, if they
100%.
tested weird medically.
And the same thing could be done in this case with the unfortunately, the Iskander. Look, I have a Tesla. I got full self-drive. And that thing makes mistakes. Do you know what ghost stopping is? Do you know what a ghost stop is in Tesla?
Yeah, I've experienced one or two of those.
Okay, so Tesla owners know, and I'm a Tesla owner, it's super so cautious that God forbid if like something rolls on the street, a baseball rolls, it could slam the brakes and throw you in like really tight in your car.
Right.
And that's happened to me many times where in the middle of a highway, there's other dangers to that too, by the way. You could get rear-ended.
Right.
But the point is, we do have the technology. If it could stop a baseball, like my car could stop for a shopping cart, it could definitely stop for children. It will stop for children. It has done that when humans are in front of it. We have that technology, all right? Now, I'm paying for it up the nose because I got a Tesla. But if every car was just maybe $2,000, how much could it cost to put cameras in, Tony? $2,000, $3,000? Yeah. If every car had that, who wouldn't pay well extra $2,000? Yeah.
I'm curious, out of all the guns we have in the country, do you have a sense of how many of them are black market versus could be smart guns? Like we could smart gun every gun,
yes,
but we can never get the black market.
No, you could never do that.
Is it half the guns in the country are black market? Is it 10%?
There's a large amount of black market.
Is it more than half the guns in the country?
It could be.
How many guns do we have? 500,000 guns in this country? I have no idea. And I don't think the number of guns is the right argument anyway, having to do with these mental health problems. But still.
I will tell you right now. So we have over 1.4 million gun crimes traced over the 5-year period. 642,000 guns were used in the crime in just 3 years. And you have a lot of states that are now increasingly banning carrying guns. 7 states have completely banned open carrying since 2003. I don't know how many illegal guns there are, but there are a lot.
It seems like one thing I'm Googling says
there's 433.9 million legal guns. And so that's that. So you have a lot of guns. So those 400, look, if you Google search most of these killings, like the Arizona murder, the gay club murder in Miami-Dade County, any school shooting, the one that happened in Sandy Hook, all these guys were deranged mental people. People that with guns, licensed guns, go through background checks. Honest, people with integrity usually don't go around shooting people. It's people with mental problems that have it, or there's usually signs. So if you had a smart gun, that would never happen because that person wouldn't be able to use the gun to begin with.
Fair. We're probably heading there. So all of this technology is eventually going to be real. I mean, you're going to be driving a car and hopefully we'll have some driver control because I still do like to drive, but you're going to be in an air bubble. Like you're not going to really be able to hit anything. You're going to kind of control within reason, like you're on Disneyland on a track. Right. And if you try to do anything weird, the game's going to stop.
Well, that's what full self-driving is with Teslas right now. Right. It drives 99.9%. Right. It lets you tug on it left, tug on your left, right. Yeah. That's all it lets you do. Yeah. I let it do my left turn, my right turn.
It's fine.
It does everything.
So that could potentially save lives. In this case Rebecca Grossman seems to have overshot the mark, tried to hit and run, and her car actually turned off. I mean, could that even be a safety feature where the thing knows you've committed a crime and drives you to the police station? I mean, I don't know.
Well, okay, so hold on a second. I will tell you that my full self-driving notifies me when my child is driving. It alerts me when she's speeding. I have actually a block on it that says she's driving over 75 miles and it locks it.
Got it.
I could shut my car off if I wanted to.
Wow.
I could put on a valet mode and switch the
bring her right back home.
In fact, if it's stolen, have you ever heard of a Tesla being stolen? No. You know why? Yeah. Because Tesla will shut it down.
Wow.
They'll literally just shut it down, just like most Mercedes, you could shut it down. So the answer to the question is some cars cannot be stolen.
Right.
They have that ability not to be stolen. In fact, I think there was a YouTube on it years ago. This thief was stuck in the car while they called the police. He was trying to break out of it.
Yeah, wild.
He was trying to break out of it because he's stuck. He was breaking. He was getting frustrated.
Right.
So yeah, it's not as easy to steal cars these days.
Right. There was a crazy TV show too about cars that would be left in really bad neighborhoods, and it was like a reality show, and they hid cameras inside the car. And this didn't last, but it was a brilliant idea. They would literally it was called Bait Car, I believe. B-A-I-T, Bait.
Okay.
Something like that. Look it up.
Get people to steal?
Yeah, they put them in bad neighborhoods, like a nice car, doors kind of like ajar. The guys come in, what the fuck? Get in there, try to jack the car. The doors lock, locks go down. We are notifying the police. The lights are coming up.
Is it a prank? Is it a prank show?
No, it's real. They did notify the police, and the guy got arrested. They got arrested on camera.
That's crazy. That's entrapment.
Well, they did try to steal a car.
Yeah, but oh my God, I would love to get that case.
We left the car there. Wow. It's kind of entrapment. Anyway, back to this. I feel like we've kind of covered it, right?
Yeah.
So what are we? We're just waiting for the verdict now. You've got your assessment. We're going to just watch it. It's coming up very soon in a few weeks.
Let's hope that there's a kumbaya, my Lord moment when they come out and they hug each other, right? And they just say, it's over. I've seen that happen, by the way. Just so you know, in murder cases, every once in a while in a gang murder case, families, even though most of it's contentious, I've seen families come out and say, I have nothing. I don't want your son to go away, but I lost my son. And I don't think that's fair that your son goes away. And they've explained it to the family members, you know? And I've been there and they start crying and the other family starts crying and I'm in the middle of this and I got tears in my eyes.
Strangely, they bond over this tragedy.
In a way, because they're losing, both families are losing somebody.
Losing a kid, yeah.
Yeah, Grossman's going to go away. They lost their mom and the Iskanders lost 2 boys. It's a loss all around. It's terrible. Oof. And we could avoid all this. It's just shameful. Yeah. If she just had... I hate to say this. Maybe she had a Tesla and she put on full self drive. This would have never happened.
Right. It wouldn't have.
Or she called a Waymo. I think we have Waymo now. Don't they pick up they had it at the time where they pick up these driverless cars and they drive you around. How about Uber? If she just got an Uber and she just took off. She could even drank in the Uber and she could have been drunk all the way.
That would have been the move.
But the thing was she was speeding, and that's the cavalier attitude, the callousness of what she did after. That's what made her toast.
We'll be seeing what happens.
Yes, sir, we shall.
All right. This is a sad one. I just, yeah.